All right, David Zaslav making kind of a big move and removing Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy from Warner Brothers was not on my bingo card right now. But that's kind of the rumor going on, and potentially, Peter Safran would be the one to take over. Now, obviously, as expected, this has thrown a lot of people into a tizzy. Mainly, you know who, the specific fandom that hates anything that is even touching or close to touching James Gunn and the new DCU. Now, let's take a look here, okay? So this is the report. It says David Zaslav is reportedly leaning to make co-CEO of DC Studios Peter Safran the new head of Warner Brothers, replacing Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy. Simultaneously, there are rumors that Zaslav will initiate a search for new leadership instead. This is interesting. Very, very interesting, because let's step back for a second. Let's step back and think about this. DeLuca and Abdy have been the topic of some interesting issues over the last number of years with Warner Brothers. Let's not forget that the whole Henry Cavill debacle, DC Studios, before it was DC Studios debacle back in 2022, they were at the heart of that. They were in the heart of that with The Rock and everything going on there. You then have the Joker 2 issue where it failed miserably, and now you have Mickey 17 that came out, which they were attached to, which didn't do very well. And David Zaslav's taking a look and seeing, well, there are issues going on at Warner Brothers, and we need to make changes. We need to push forward and make changes. Now the question is Peter Safran the right man for that? I'm not going to sit here and say Peter Safran is the right man for it. I'm also not going to sit here and say that keeping DeLuca and Abdy is the right move as well, because I don't think it is. I don't think keeping DeLuca and Abdy is the right move. There's a lot of people sitting here trying to say, well, look at DeLuca and Abdy's long list and record of movies. Well, let's do just that, okay? If we go to IMDb, let's look at Pam Abdy for a second. She has around a dozen movies that she's done in her career. Now, you can go back as far as 1999. We got Man on the Moon. She was an associate producer, which basically means she bought a t-shirt. No, I'm just kidding. If you know, you know. But no, she was an associate producer, so she really didn't do much on that film at all. She really didn't. Co-producer of Caveman's Valentine. What is that? Executive producer of How High. Okay. Getting further up there, Garden State. I think Garden State is a phenomenal film. One of the best films of the early 2000s. Obviously directed by Zach Braff, written by Zach Braff, all that jazz. Great movie she was a producer on. Great pickup by her. Absolutely great. Stop Loss. Uncredited executive producer. Identity Theft. Now, but look, you see from 2004 to 2008, then there's a huge gap up till 2013. Who knows? Did she start a family? I don't know. I don't know what happened there. It's not for me to say anything, but we're seeing that there's not this huge list of films. Because in Identity Theft, terrible movie. 47 Ronin, should have been a good movie, was not. Endless Love, Kill the Messenger, Million Little Pieces, Queen and Slim, come on. And then she does have two upcoming ones. Ombre, which she's just an executive producer, and The Hunt for Gollum, which, look, I'm not too confident in that myself. But you sit there and you take a look at some of these films and you're like, okay, there's not a lot there for Pam Abdy. So why are people freaking out about her possibly moving on? Then you take a look at Michael DeLuca and you see things like, and don't get me wrong, he's done some amazing things. You got more recent, the Shogun series, great series. But then you have something like Ricky Stenicki, which was terrible. You have some amazing things like the 50 Shades series. I'm kidding. But he was part of the 50 Shades series. Another terrible one, which was Dracula Untold, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. But then you have Moneyball. Fantastic movie. So you can go down the list of these. The Social Network. Fantastic movie. But then The Love Guru. Again, you take a look at these movies and you sit there and you start to realize, okay, they're hit or miss. Producers of all sorts and all sizes can be hit or miss. It is what it is. You take a look at Peter Safran, and it's the same for him. You got, what is it? The Nun series, the Conjuring series, the Annabelle series. He was all part of. Those are all huge hits. Those films, that horror franchise, is absolutely huge for him. But then he also did things like Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. And we know that he was also part of the failures for the DCEU. And that's just part of what happened. But he also has some hits. So would it be really a big step up, a step down if they went with Safran over DeLuca or Abdy? No, it wouldn't be a huge step up. It wouldn't be a huge step down. It probably would be roughly about the same. But people want to sit there and freak out and say, well, he's a step down because he lost X amount of money. Well, that was during the failures of the DCEU. People were checked out with the DCEU at the time. But then you take a look at all the terrible films that DeLuca and Abdy were part of, or films that nobody's ever heard of, and you start to realize, okay, maybe the best idea is what this second part is. Initiate a search for new leadership instead. That's really not a bad idea. That really isn't the worst idea there. That's probably the better idea for them to do. Now, again, people freaking out. I've seen people sit there and say, because of this news specifically, that this is going to cause Warner Brothers to fail. They're done. The end is near. They're going to split DC Studios off because of this news. This is the end. Oh, if they would have just made Man of Steel 2 and put JL 2 and 3 into production, Zack Snyder's JL 2 and 3 into production, they would have been raking in the money. But the fact of the matter is, that's not true. None of that has to do with any of this. None of it. Right now, a lot is riding on Superman coming out. Absolutely. That is very clear and has been clear for quite some time. And it's going to make a lot of money. How much money is the question? We've talked ad nauseum about it over the last few months, that people are excited about Superman. The hype is there. It's talked about at a high pace on social media all the time. Whether it's the naysayers, whether it's the people excited, it's talked about. It is in the zeitgeist. People are talking about it. And what that means is it's in people's brains. We got more trailers coming out. We got more marketing that's going to start ramping up here very soon. We're 4 months away, guys. 4 months away from that movie. This movie is going to be huge. And it's going to do well. It's going to do well. They are putting their full backing behind this film. This studio, both DC Studios and Warner Brothers, are putting their full backing behind this movie. I will be shocked if it doesn't do well. It looks phenomenal. It looks like it's going to be great. From what we've seen so far, it looks great. But here's the thing. Everything going on right now isn't going to affect that. Everything going on right now doesn't mean that Warner Brothers is about to end and be sold off, or they're going to sell DC Studios off, or they're going to throw the IPs elsewhere. Stop listening to the people that are crying wolf or screaming the sky is falling. None of that is happening. Be patient. See how this plays out. Like I said, personally, I think they should just find new leadership. That's what I think. I don't think that Peter Safran is the right man to head Warner Brothers, at least not right now. I think he and Gunn should stay the course. Let them get DC Studios off the ground. Get a few of those projects up and running. Let's see how things go. And then move them over if there's still a spot open at Warner Brothers. But for the time being, if Zaslav truly thinks that the best move is to move on from DeLuca and Abdy, you got to find somebody else right now. Somebody from outside. Bring some outside minds into this to really push Warner Brothers back to the heights it once was. Because that's the problem right now. It's just not reaching the heights it once was. HBO's still doing great. They're still putting out good content. Warner Brothers, though, they need to get up there with Warner Brothers Pictures. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear what you have to say about this. It's really interesting, but I want to hear what you have to say. Let me know in the comments. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe. I'm only like 60-ish away from 2K. I'd love for you all to subscribe if you're not. So please do so. With all that said, I'll catch you all later.